Hello, and welcome to another Positive Cinematic Spotlight, where we look at movies to find encouragement and inspiration for the education community. First, it's American Education Week, so congratulations and thank you, all educators, um, whether you be a teacher, uh, staff at a school, or working in the district office, lunch ladies, bus drivers, everybody involved in education. We're having Spirit Week at my school, and today is Turn Back Tuesday, where we are bringing back the past to remember that what we do today leads to where we are tomorrow. And um, I have a very simple wardrobe. I don't have a whole lot of options in terms of trying to create a retro look, but I am wearing Scooby Doo, um, classic Scooby Doo, so that is my turn back participation. Um, Speaking of turning back, one of the what we're looking at this week is the 1955 movie Rebel Without a Cause, which was Dean's last movie. He was a cultural icon, and he achieved that status after only three movies. This is his first movie where he is the headliner, and he was recognized as having an outstanding performance, although he was not recommended for an Academy Award. Um, when I watched this movie, when I first watched it, and every time I watch it, I always think about how it reminds me of The Breakfast Club, but it came before, so it's kind of a precursor to The Breakfast Club. But since, of course, being an '80s child, grown up in the '80s, um, mostly, um, The Breakfast Club is what I think of first. Um, the Not the Breakfast Club. We're talking about Rebel Without a Cause. Rebel Without a Cause uh, is the story of Jim Stark, who is new to town, and shortly after arriving, he gets arrested and taken to the police station, where he encounters two others of his classmates, which he's not gone to the first day of school yet. Um, but two others of his age group, Judy and Plato, who have both also gotten in trouble with the law on the same evening, but in three completely different situations. Just like in Breakfast Club, you have a disparate group of teens who uh, in the Breakfast Club, they meet each other at Saturday detention, find out that they have a whole lot more in common than they would have thought, and develop what may very well be a friendship in the future. If not a friendship, then certainly a better understanding of each other. And of course, in the Breakfast Club, each actor, each character represents a prominent clique found in high schools. Rebel Without a Cause was a little bit more subtle. The characters do not represent different cliques, but they do represent at risk teens who have similar difficulties at home with their parents, although in different manners. And they represent uh, their age group and the struggles that they have growing up. In there are only three of the characters. As I said, there's Jim, Plato, and Judy. Plato comes from a family. His father has the story kind of changes. It's pretty much accepted that the father ran away, left the family behind, but it is possible that he died in some situation. Um, and So he's being raised by his mother, and I do the air quotes there if you're watching, because his mother actually spends the majority of his time, uh, of her time, away from Plato, away from their house, and Plato's actually being raised by the housekeeper. Judy, on the other hand, she's the oldest of two children. She has a much younger brother, and Judy desperately wants her parents' attention, especially her father's attention, but he's giving all his attention to the youngest child, the younger brother. And so she's doing whatever she can to get attention, whether it's good attention or bad attention. And of course, as we would expect, because she's been arrested, many of her decisions at this point in the story are negative attempts to get just some kind of attention, and those negative actions are actually getting her um, uh, less attention because the father feels like um, she doesn't deserve it because of the way she's behaving. And then there's our main character, Jim. Jim's parents, on the other hand, you'll notice that their presence, the presence in their children's lives, is getting stronger, but still there's something lacking, and I am going to explain Jim in a minute. Um, Plato, there is basically no parental interaction, and he's being raised by someone who is not his family, um, and she's getting paid to take care of him. Judy, her parents are both there, uh, but their attention is mainly on the younger child and less on her. Jim's parents, on the other hand, they do pay attention to him in a manner of speaking. Um, while he's in the police station being arrested for public drunkenness, his father says, "Don't we give you anything you want? You want a bicycle, we get you a bicycle. You want a car, we get you a car. Don't we give you love and affection?" They do pay attention to him, but just giving him things and even giving him love and affection is not what he's looking for, because he is self aware enough to know that he needs guidance. He needs to figure out how to mature and to grow up to be a man. And what he has is a family where the parents are always fighting. The father is displayed as being weak willed, being picked on by both his uh, mother and his wife, because the husband's, Frank Stark's, mother also lives with them. They are very critical of him. And um, Jim sees his father as not having a whole lot of strength or willpower in the face of um, his mother and his grandmother. In the fighting between the two, one of the things he says is, you say one thing and then you say something else and then you go back again. And so he's getting mixed messages from his parents because they're always fighting. And he's trying to find a role model on how to um, be a mature man, and he sees his father as being weak. So the mixed messages and the weak image of his father makes it difficult for him to figure out how he needs to be as a man. And one of the things that he does determine is that he does not want to be like his father. And so one of his triggers is being called chicken. You call him chicken, you suggest he's a coward, then he is going to respond in a violent manner to prove you otherwise. Um, what we see in all three are various things that our students need. Um, they need consistency. They need to feel like they are valued, that they have a voice and people will listen to them. Um, when they meet, there is, they do have to get to know each other. There are some outside antagonists in a group of toughs that give new kid Jim a hard time. Plato is always being picked on. So Jim's friendship with Plato certainly doesn't endear him to the tough kids who Judy is actually hanging out with at the beginning of the movie. Um, but they do form a friendship, and the nature of their friendship is determined by what they're looking for that they're not getting in their family. Uh, Plato is looking for a family. He really doesn't have one, so he sees Jim and Judy as a father and a mother, um, taking the place of his absent parents. Judy is looking for attention. She's looking for acceptance, and Jim gives her that. They do develop a romantic relationship. Um, and Jim is looking for some kind of framework on how to be a man. And the roles that Judy and Plato impose upon him, which I say impose, but he happily accepts those those roles, give him some kind of guidance on how to be a man. And this is all happening, and one of the big themes in this film is that teenagers do not feel like that. As I said, that they're not recognized as for who they are. They're not given a voice. They are disregarded and dismissed. Um, the parents that we do see definitely react that way as they pay little attention to what their children are saying, assuming that they do not know what they're asking for. They don't know what's right for them. Or, as Judy's dad certainly um, displays, she does not deserve his attention because of the decision she's making. Um, and of course, Plato, he has no parents, so they are completely cut off from him. That being ignored by the adults and disregarded continues at the police station, except for um, Officer Ray Femick, who does listen to them, but he also keeps a distance. He does extend an olive branch and say, if you need something, then let me know. Contact me. Come back to the police station. He tells Jim, if you feel like you're getting heated, because they talk about his anger, if you feel that anger, then come see me. Um, and so the police officer, that one police officer, Ray Femick, does make an attempt, but not all the police officers share that willingness. And so when they do go back to the police station saying that they need to find deputy or officer, I'm not sure, um, Officer Femick, uh, they are, as it seems to be a frequent case, disregarded and dismissed, told to just go home, come back tomorrow, but they have an issue right now and they need help. But the police officers at the police station won't listen to them. Interestingly enough, as a teacher, there is almost no teacher presence in this movie, despite there being a couple of scenes set at school. So teachers in this film a are in absence, and it makes me wonder if that was intended on purpose as an indictment of the education system of the '50s, possibly suggesting that at the time teachers did not take on any form of guidance role for teens. That's pure speculation on my part. And it could just be a matter of plotting for the movie, um, limited time to tell the story. These days we get 2 and 3 hour movies, uh, but in the 50s, while there were longer films that did get up to 2 hours and such, they were very few and far between. Um, but it does, uh, but the lack of teacher involvement in these uh, teenagers' lives is noticeable in the movie, at least from a teacher's standpoint. And so we can see through these characters what our children need, what our students need. As I said, they need the consistency that a lot of times they don't get at home. And it's hard to be consistent as a parent. Many of us teachers are also parents, and we know that it's difficult to be consistent when addressing our children, um, because different situations require different responses. Sometimes what is inconsistent is really um, addressing the situation that is right here in front of us, um, while another situation is different in some subtle way that our children might not need. But we do know we need to be conscious that they do need consistency, and that's something that we at schools can provide. In fact, the talking about framework and boundaries, the boundaries and framework of being a teacher um, makes consistency all the more crucial here at school. And so that is certainly something that we can do. We can provide more consistency and um, and how we handle situations with our students. And when we do have to, or we do choose to sometimes, break from that consistency, we can sit down one on one and explain why we're doing something differently, and preferably doing something differently in favor of the student. Certainly not being inconsistent for uh, in a negative way for our students. They need a voice, which is where the talking with them about the situation and why normally we would do this. The rules say this, but at this time we're going to respond in a different fashion. And I want you to understand why we're responding in a different fashion. And we can have those moments if we give our students a voice and listen to their complaints, their concerns, the issues that they're dealing with. Um, it's real easy as a teacher to just go by the book. And there are times when just going by the book is needed, but there are also times when we need to listen to what's going on. In fact, I would say we should always listen to what's going on and uh, to judge whether or not this is a situation where I need to stick with the book, or this is a situation where we need to look at our other options and see if we can find another solution for this child. Um, they need to feel supported. They need to feel like they belong. And these are all things that as teachers that we can help create those. Um, and just as Officer Fremick did, um, say, if you've got a problem, come to me and we will see what we can do. Um, that doesn't mean they will. In the movie, uh, the uh, the three did go to Officer Fremick looking for help, but he wasn't at the police station, and the police officers who were there were not willing to assist. But uh, we also know that just because we offer help doesn't mean that our children will always take that help, but we need to offer it. We need to say, if you need help, if you need to talk about something, come see us, come see me, come see somebody in this school, some adult for you to talk to before something gets out of hand. whatever the difficulty is. Now, I was comparing this movie to The Breakfast Club, and as you probably noticed, the break, there is a significant difference. Assuming you've seen The Breakfast Club, which maybe you haven't, but if you have, then you know perfectly well that it's a dramatic comedy, a dramedy, and so there's humor, there's drama, and the ending is certainly positive. Uh, the Rebel Without a Cause is just a straight drama, and so we don't have the comedy, we don't have the comedic relief, and we do not have Jim Stark walking away from the school, thrusting his fist in the air, um, happy with the conclusion of his day. Um, Excited about the affirmation that he's receiving from the other students at the school, um, valuing who he is. So do be aware that it is a more dramatic turn of events in Rebel Without a Cause. Now, before we leave, while I do feel it's important to talk about how we can support our students um, any year, every year, but especially this year, I also want to address that these things that we see the teenagers and Rebel Without a Cause are looking for and need are the same things that we need. Just because we are getting more mature, that we are adults, in my case, growing old, um, that does not mean we don't need these things. We also need the comfort of consistency. We also need to feel like we have a voice and that people are paying attention and that we are valued for who we are and what we attempt to do. And as such, um, be aware, you know, if you're feeling tired and if you're feeling worn down, even if you're getting your full eight nights of sleep, try that again. Don't sleep for eight. Well, I mean, you do want to sleep for 8 nights. I mean, come on. Um, because you're only sleeping at night. Sleep, all the nights, not just 8 nights. But if you're getting your 8 hours of sleep or your normal amount of sleep, if you're one of those who can sleep less, so jealous of you. I definitely need my sleep. And you're still feeling tired, then it might be that you're not getting some of these things. You're not getting the consistency and you're feeling worn down because you don't feel like you have a voice and you don't feel like that you're recognized for what you're doing, then um, there are things you can do. And one of the things that you can do when you feel like things are inconsistent, when you feel like you need guidance and you're not sure what to do, because let me tell you, this year, yeah, we all know if we're going to encounter something new and unfamiliar, it's going to be this year. Um, when you feel like that, don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I've gone to my administration. I've been doing this for years," and saying, "Look, I just need to understand what's going on. Explain it to me so I can understand, and then accept it and move on." Do that. Ask questions about things, and once you get the explanation, that should help alleviate some of your stress. Um, as far as being recognized for what you do, first, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. If you're in the classroom, whether it's virtually or live action, you are doing a wonderful job because you are showing up. Many teachers did not come back. Many teachers came back and left. And we all have to do what we got to do for ourselves. That is not a criticism of them, but I do want to say if you are still teaching, whether, as I said, live action, in person, face mask on, uh, wiping down the desks, then, or whether you're virtual, showing up online regularly when you're supposed to, teaching your students from a distance, then you are showing strength and you are showing bravery, and you are to be commended. That is for every teacher, every bus driver. Not that you can drive a bus virtually. You know what I'm saying. Um, Teachers, bus drivers, uh, cafeteria ladies, our administrators, our office staff, our district office workers. You are showing strength and bravery that should be commended and applauded. So, thank you very much for everything you do. But I'm not necessarily where you are. Some of you, I am where you are because I know some of my coworkers watch these. But hopefully, some people who are not in my school building are is seeing this. So if you're out there and you don't feel like you're getting that recognition, here's my recommendation for you: celebrate your coworkers' accomplishments, compliment them for what they do. If we all compliment each other, we will compliment each other more. If we say, hey, it's good seeing you, thank you for showing up, hey, you're doing a good job, then there is a better chance that they will give that to you as well. And I certainly hope that, and believe, to be honest, that the majority of administrators out there recognize the importance of reinforcing the efforts of their teachers, as well as everybody else, all the staff, every member of a school. If we support each other and compliment each other for what we are doing every day, then we are boosting each other up and we are giving each other that value and that recognition for what we are doing that will help keep us doing what we want to do, which is teach our children and support our children and look out for our children. So, on that note, I want to thank all of you for everything that you do. I want to thank you for being the best. Because if you're in a classroom this year, again, real time or virtual, which is real time because you're streaming. So let me rephrase that. Whether it's live action, which was my phrase earlier, I was trying to vary it up. Whether it's live action or virtual, then you are doing your best. Just showing up is enough to qualify. And I want to thank you for supporting your students, for giving them a voice, for valuing who they are, for giving them guidance and giving them um, uh, the recognition of who they are that they so desperately need. Until next time, have a great week.